Let's bring in now the co-founder and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader. Lauren, where to begin? I mean, the Republicans are waffling on this because they realize how bad it is, and most of them have or know someone who has endured IVF in the quest to have a family. And yet this is a direct result of the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
In a way, Republicans are the dog that caught the car. I mean, this has been Republican orthodoxy around abortion for the last 50 years. This, sort of religious-based perception that life begins at conception. It's always been the, sort of basis of the anti-abortion movement. And now we're seeing the sort of vast consequences of what that means. Everything from the woman in Ohio who was prosecuted after having had a miscarriage and accused of having aborted the child, to now this IVF ruling. And, the idea that the chaos that all of these rulings are creating in terms of the doctors that have to face these life and death choices for women who are on the brink of death before they're allowed to have any kind of abortion care in the state of Texas and elsewhere, to now this question of what happens to embryos and what happens in terms of IVF. I think we're at the very beginning of this, and the next step is going to be this question over the birth control, over the morning after pill. I mean, and Democrats warned that this was going to happen, and I think people didn't take it seriously. Now we are seeing these sort of vast unintended consequences of dogma that makes no sense in the real life context.
You, Caddy, and we all have daughters, and our daughters are right now growing into adulthood in a world that's completely different than the one we did here in the U.S., where we had protections, where we had rights, where if something went wrong during our pregnancy, we didn't have to worry about bleeding out, where if we struggled to have a family, we would have an opportunity to create a family through. I mean, this is,
it's unimaginable.
And you're right. Now they head for birth control next. My God. I mean, I don't know, Michael Steele. I feel like the Republicans obviously own this, and yet we still have such a tight fight for the White House in the next election. I don't understand what's going on.
Well, I think, it's a combination of the politics culture and now sort of the, what we see with a lot of the Christian nationalism that's being injected into both of those things. So you have now this elevation of a new foundation, to your point, Lauren, about, not just catching the car, but now trying to put a cross on it, a Christian symbol in a way that sort of defines how this plays out. The problem is, and IVF is a very good example of it. When you go down that road, when you open that door and go into that space, what you find is that you have 83% of evangelicals support IVF, all right? Do not want what the Alabama law proposes. And so now you've got this within the reality of, the abortion decision, this element that says, well, okay, now we're going to talk about IVF. Well, wait a minute, hold on, that's not included. Well, yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah, it is. Definitely. And then you've already got the next card ready to be played on contraception, which Justice Alito's already laid out. Justice Thomas has laid out. Send us that case.
Oh Lord. Yep.
So it's a new space.
Final thought, real quick.
I mean, this is and will continue to be the defining issue of this campaign. It absolutely has to be, and the Biden administration needs to continue to prosecute this case. This is such a uniting issue for people across the spectrum. If Democrats are looking to win back, middle of the road, swing voters, independent voters, this is the issue, just as Roe has been since the Dobbs decision. This is so personal for so many Americans. Keep your government out of my health care, right? Yeah. The Republican talking point for years.
Let us have
Democrats need to own it.
That's exactly.
That is right.
Exactly. Republicans will always get, small government, get the government out of our lives.
Right.
What happens
unless it's a woman's life, and then we're all in.
Then we don't care. All right, co-founder and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader, thank you, as always, for coming on our third hour of morning.